Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is very, very well. And as you can tell, I managed to make it past the managed to get home from the family meal with my lovely children, and let's just say we had a fantastic time. And I hope everybody is very, very well. Let's say I'm just waiting for the stream to start. So if I start waffling like a complete and utter idiot, yes, I seem to have started. Good evening, all. I hope everybody is very, very well, and I hope everybody's had a wonderful time, and I hope that everything's not a problem. Well, I must admit, it says on my live stream that an error has occurred on my, but it still seems to be going all wonderfully well. So, and everything seems to be excellent. And I'm looking at my phone, and I'm seeing my stream going. So it all seems to be going all right. So I'm going to take what I see on my phone is that my live stream is actually working, and I will just leave it at that. But yes, as you can see, I managed to make it back from our Christmas dinner with my wonderful family, and let's just say we had a fantastic time. I had a proper good laugh, and I hope everybody is very, very well. I'm just going to click off one or two things that are happening on my stream, and everything seems to be going well. Yes, I'll turn one or two things off now. And as I can see, people are now joining the chat, and I'll just drop my phone like a complete, absolute bell end. Never mind. It's the way things go. So, give me a quick sec. But anyway, I'm just going to, let's say, a quick hello in the chat. Oh, so, say hello, Mad Monk, my tried and trusted good friend, Mad Monk. I'm going to need your eyes and ears on this, because as somebody who worked in this field and in Amazon, you will be able to what you could say sort out the wheat from the chaff. But as I say, good evening, peeps, and listening to the great. I'll take that as a great from somebody who's intelligent and as witty and lovely soul. Can I ask, did you have a fantastic night out as well? I hope you did. And because it was jolly nice of you to pop in as you were heading off out, you know, and just like people like you and the wonderful Alistair Cairn, you know, this channel as on live streams won't be able to function. So I'm forever in debt. But I say, the wonderful, yeah, hey up. Hey up, Stephen Mankey. Hope you're well. Hope you're very, very well. Home from work now, so I can say hi to my. Yeah. Hope you've had a decent day at work. I hope you've been well. Good evening, Margaret McKay. I hope you're very, very well, and hello there. And all I will say is, as we're waiting for people to pop in, a couple of things I want to say before we start. First thing, this is going to be difficult listening because of the simple reason. All I will say is the woman in this, she what I would say, she seems to have zero fucks to give. She seems to think, yeah, well, you may have us banged to rights as a government. What the fuck are you going to do about it? And my slight suspicion, yeah, probably nothing. That's my thoughts. And so he's going to. So if you have a short fuse and high blood pressure, let's just watch this in installments. And secondly, I know we do his Friday frolics where we have a good giggle and a laugh tomorrow. It should be on, but at 4:10, I do have a doctor's appointment. So what I'm basically saying is, I should be back before then. Shouldn't be a problem. But if I'm, you know what, appointments can be like, could be running a little bit late, could be. So all I'm saying is that if I'm a little bit late, I'll still have it organised for 5 o'clock. But if I'm a little bit late, I'll let you know in the chat to hang fire. So, and say it's not as if my doctor's practically just round corner from where I live, so it's not a problem. I don't endeavour there being any problems as my doctor's appointment is at 4:10, but you just never know. So that's all I'm saying. But anyway, we'll leave it there. So, but anyway, we'll see who else is in the chat before we head off. Good evening, Ted Boy. Hope you're well. And Stoned in also, hope you're well. Hope you're very, very well. As I say. And also, good evening, Top Manor. Hope you're well. Yes. I'll probably missed one or two, which I do apologise. But yeah. I thought you said you dropped your bell. I wondered what. No, I dropped my phone. Cause what I usually do is me fail safe, and when it comes to making sure everything's running, because I don't like yesterday, like an idiot. I was talking to myself like a complete and utter bell tap. As when it comes to me and live streams, I always fuck things up. So that's my Yeah, no worries. As I say, we got on for about just before 4, and I thought, you know what I mean. I had a pint of lager, and I had a couple of ales as well, Christmassy ales with us dinner. So we had a proper good day out with me. With you all know my daughter, God's last sis. She were with us. Well, we had a good giggle. And we had a good day out, good afternoon. So, but anyway, without further ado, I'm just, as I say, I'm going to prepare you for this. This is very, very, very frustrating because you can tell straight away these guys will have their set answers. And also, as I said, Mad Monk worked there, so he'll be our eyes and ears. He will know more than me. But what I will say is, if these guys are what you would say, what you would class as, if they had all their ducks in a row, then they would have their ducks in a row. But you just seem to have their set answers, and I'll probably butt in every 5-10 minutes because your blood pressure will liable to absolutely blow your mind. What the way they act will blow your mind. But anyway, we'll get into this. As I say, it's about 40 to 45 minutes, which when you hear the shite these two have to come out with, I think it's 45 minutes too long. But anyway, as I say, this was the employer's right. If you didn't watch the first select committee meeting, as I say, I think pretty much most of you did. It was what you would say quite eye-opening. But I haven't put the first meeting, which was a live stream, on in the chat, but I will probably do it later on because I did get on for about. We had a bit of chit chat and just after his dinner and a couple of beers, you have a bit of a yawn. So, but anyway. Enough of my gassing, and I'm talking utter shite. But we will let these two get in, and what all you'll say is that she has that no fucks to give like grin. So bear that in mind.
Inquiry into the Industrial Relations Bill and industrial relations in the UK. I'm immensely grateful to Jennifer Kearney and Stuart Morgan for joining us from Amazon. You're very welcome here this afternoon, and thank you for making time in a busy schedule to come and give evidence to us. Jennifer, perhaps I can start with you. Does Amazon basically hate trade unions?
I'd like to start with introducing myself and sharing with the committee what I do.
Don't worry, we've got the biography, so
Great.
we're just going to jump straight into the questions because the time is against us. And the question is, does Amazon basically hate trade unions?
Amazon is really clear that our preference is working directly with our employees. It's worked very well for us in the 25 years that we've been inside of the UK. Should our employees choose union recognition, union representation in any way, of course, we'll comply.
Okay. Now, you'll be aware of a report that was published by one of our sister committees in the United States on Sunday by Senator Sanders and others. And in that report, the allegation is that Amazon basically, in the report's words, accepts injuries to its workers as the cost of doing business. Is that true?
I am aware of the report that's been published. At this point in time, I've not had the opportunity to go through the details of that, but I'd like to reassure and state that actually for Amazon, safety is our number one priority. Mm-hmm. It always has been and always will be. And we benchmark ourselves against health and safety executive data. The data for the period 2022, which is published on our safety blog, actually states and proves that Amazon is 50% safer in terms of when compared to other businesses within this sector.
Yeah.
I would say
that's 531 injuries per 100,000, and as you say, the last published figures were 2022. Why have they not been updated since then?
So the actual data demonstrates that in 2022 there was 77 million hours worked, which gives you a kind of scale of the size of our operation. Mm. The data on that blog, which is in the process of being updated, demonstrates that actually that is one incident every 132 years. So our priority is safety. And that has always been the case.
The question
was, will it be updated? The data that we've last got published is 2022. Are there plans to update that data?
We're in the process of updating the data. We are confident that actually we are making improvements in our safety. So that is demonstrated by the fact that on an annual basis we complete over 350,000 inspections each year. We continue to invest in automation within our network, which is again improving our safety. We engage with our employees through safety committees, and all of these are active ways in which we continue to improve. But we're not complacent in this. One single safety incident is too many, and we will continue to improve in this area.
But you're planning to update that data and publish it when, do you think?
I'm not able to confirm an actual date at this point, but the reason that we set up the safety blog back in 2022 was that we wanted to actually be transparent around our record with safety.
Sorry, but in here, did you hear him or did you not hear him say we want to be transparent? He did say the word transparent, didn't he? The reason why I'm saying that, I watched a bit of this, so bear that in mind. Also, she didn't answer the question about do you hate unions. She didn't exactly say a ringing endorsement, say, no, of course we don't. Very, very interesting. And good evening, GD Mottle as well, and good evening, DW. Yes, that was something I'm hearing and all. This is, as an ex-Amazon worker, they do look after their workers, and as an ex-manager, I've got to say it's very stringent in its workforce and do everything they can to help. I remember you saying that yesterday, and that's the reason why I say you're our eyes and ears, because as somebody who worked in this field, you will know better than us. But all I'm saying is, when you listen to these people, they do sound incredibly I can imagine as somebody, I know you, I've spoken to you many times, Mad Monk, and you're a fine stand-up kind of guy, and if I had you as my manager, I'd be honoured to have you as my manager. So please don't take this as an attack on people like you, because it isn't. But what I find, the way that these people were I class these as very, very slippery, and so please don't view this as an attack on you, because it certainly isn't. Certainly isn't, my friend. And I'm pleased you're here, because you will. Yeah, that is an interesting thought, Alistair. Why haven't they got recent figures? That's interesting. That's something I thought. But anyway, like I said, he did say the word transparent, didn't he? Bear that in mind for later on.
Are many allegations that have been made around the safety. When those have been investigated, then they've been proven to be untrue. So we saw this as an opportunity in which that actually we could support and help people to understand.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just run through just a few things just to sort of check. So at the moment in warehouses, people work a 10-hour shift. Is that standard?
Our standard shifts are 4 10-hour days, highly desired by our employees. It gives them the balance that they have to live their life. We also offer flexibility so that
10-hour days.
Make a change to their schedule on the spot, which we also see our employees do. We also, of course, employ part-time employees and individuals who are on more flexible schedules. It's one of the things that Amazon does best.
Yeah, and within the warehouses, there is, in a sense, an algorithm that helps set targets for the amount of picking, for example, that a worker might need to conduct on their shift.
In Amazon, we use technology for a whole different range of reasons, as you would anticipate, whether that is tracking goods through different stages of the process within the warehouse, whether that is around the security of our sites, and also, as I've explained, in terms of the introduction of technologies to improve our overall safety. Do we set performance targets? Then, like many other businesses, yes, we do set performance targets.
Yeah. And those performance targets may change day by day?
When we set performance targets, we are thoughtful, we're considerate, we take performance data over an extended period of time so that it avoids looking at specific days or accepting that there are fluctuations. We also are considerate in that we take into account whether the employee is training in a new skill or that they may be learning or at a recently joined the business. So these are all different types of inputs that we take when we're setting what our performance targets are.
You'll be aware of the allegations because they've been reported by the BBC, that such as people's fear of missing those performance targets and perhaps losing their job, that they are urinating into plastic bottles to avoid taking the time to go to the bathroom. Is that true?
I don't recognize that in the 7.5 years. I don't think Stuart would say the same for his 10 years at Amazon. When we're in our buildings and we talk to our employees on the shop floor who are doing meaningful work for our customers and are proud of their role, they tell us about the way that they feel fulfilled and they're able to provide for themselves and for their families. So simply don't recognize that. Okay,
and Mr. Morgan, you had confirmed that you've not heard that allegation either?
I've spent 10 years working in frontline positions, leading buildings across the entire Amazon network. I don't recognize that situation. It is a common myth, which is untrue. We do measure performance of our employees. We do not monitor their movements in the building. We simply track performance when they are on task. And at any point in time that they need to either use the facilities, they need to make an important telephone call, or they have an engagement with a leader, then.
See, the thing is, I have my little antennae starts to work overtime thing. Why is he going on this long-winded response Well, as I say, no, I've never heard that. And that's my thought. There's something in my mind thinking, why are you going on and on and on and on? You don't really need to. Yeah, and yeah, exactly, Mad Monk. As I say, yeah, the media takes it out of preparation, and as you say, yeah, both floor and management. So yes, I know more than these folk in the committee. Yeah, quite rightly. But all I'm saying is, the more and more you watch these, you think they seem to have their preset answers. That's all I'm saying. Good evening, Amanda G. Hope you're well. If it's all nonsense, where are these stories coming from? There are so many people saying this is happening. They cannot all be lying. See, I'm not trying to be awful to these, because it might not be something they've heard of, but the thing is, I just found their preset answers, they just sounded incredibly shady, that's all.
Then that is stopped.
Okay. And you'll be aware too then of an observer-led investigation that reported over 1,400 ambulance call-outs in a period of just 5 years. I mean, that indicates an environment that's not terrifically safe to me.
I would disagree with the premise of the question, and allow me to explain. So the first point is that if an employee at any point needs medical attention, which is beyond what our capable first aiders can do, would we call an ambulance? And the answer to that would be yes. However, I think it is oversimplistic and not correct to make a correlation between ambulance call-outs and whether an environment is safe or not safe. And if I could share the experience of my time within Amazon and leading buildings, whenever there would be an occasion that an ambulance would be called to site, then I would be informed of that matter, because safety is our priority, as I've stated. And in the majority of those cases, the situation is that for what we would describe as a non-work-related incident or a pre-existing medical condition, and those were for the majority of the cases. So it is an oversimplification to state that a high ambulance call-out rate leads to an unsafe environment. And I would just reinforce the point that I made earlier about our data and how we benchmark against a health and safety executive, which demonstrates...
Most employers don't have to call ambulances 1,400 times in 5 years.
I want to point out that we employ 75,000 employees over 100 locations across the entirety of the UK.
There's 50,000 people work in the Palace of Westminster each day. We don't call ambulances 1,400 times over the course of 5 years.
I think the data that Stuart shared speaks for itself. But as we shared earlier, one incident is too many. So we work actively hearing from employees, hey, what can we do better or different for you? Every time we have an idea or a concern brought to us, it's our obligation, but it's also our privilege to support them and to make sure that we're doing everything as safely as possible.
Well, if one incident is too many, how would you explain the case that we were given just an hour or two ago of a 30-year-old man who got chemical in his eyes, and we were told that Amazon didn't or wouldn't call an ambulance because there were an excessive number of ambulance call-outs compared to other sites? It wasn't until he got home that he was able to go to hospital, and tragically it was too late to save all his vision, and he now only has 20% vision. Is that a case you recognise?
I don't recognise that specific case. If you have details of that case, then we would write a follow-up. What I can say is that for any incident that does take place, then we conduct a thorough investigation of that.
So it was on the 6th of October, I think, 2022, that Mr. Bezos says that we, Amazon, are going to be the Earth's best employer and the Earth's safest place to work. Is that now true?
We are getting better every day. What you'll see inside of our buildings, and we'd like to invite each of you to come and see either any of our buildings at any point. You'll see a place where we care deeply about employees. When I say we, that's every single one of our site leaders, our HR teams inside of our building. You'll see us continually getting better. As we shared, we're not complacent, even though the data says that we are a very safe place to work. I also shared about some flexibility and some other things employees tell us they cannot get anywhere else. I hear constantly, this is the best place that I've ever worked. And that is from multiple experiences in multiple of our buildings across the entirety of the UK.
Well, let's turn from safety to pay then. I think you've said that you're on a journey to become the Earth's safest place to work rather than you've reached that destination. So when we look at your SEC filings and we look at the breakout for sales in the UK, we can see that between 2018 and 2023, Amazon UK's sales have grown by 132%, but growth in pay for frontline workers has been 42%. So are you basically profiteering from the hard work of employees and not giving them the full measure of their reward?
Now, what I would like to reinforce is in terms of where our current position is on pay. And that is both above the real living wage and the minimum wage. It gives the opportunity for our employees working 40 hours a week across 40 days to be earning.
Sorry to butt in, but yeah, Admiral, that's interesting. That is interesting. Because I was going to ask you, when they talked about the number of ambulance calls out, because it does sound like a lot, and you'll know more than us. Anyway, before I say it, I just want to say good evening to Steve McMorrin and Jeannie Bottle. Is that who I saw earlier on? Hope you're well. But yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, this is an English thing. Working in Scotland, we had 5 ambulance call-outs in 1 year. Is that really? That is interesting. And as Alistair Kerr talked about, if it's a 10-hour shift, do they have three? Should have at least 3 breaks. That's interesting. But yeah, cheers for that. I will go when I get a chance for America, who literally danced after making redundancies, so I can only hear the lies from her mouth. Yeah, because I've said DW, when I see her grin, it gives me the air of she's no fucks to give. That's a feeling I get. Good evening, Tories don't get tasered. Yeah, that's who else as well. Good, hope you're well. But yeah, cheers for that Mad Monk. That is interesting. I think it could be an English thing.
As a startup or a start position of £28,000 to £30,000. Now, when we set our pay, we go through an annual process and we take into account a number of different factors, including economic data points. We are confident that, and we do benchmark against other businesses, and we are confident that we are offering a fair rate of pay. It's one of the main reasons why employees actually choose to join us as well. And
it's not just pay, it's a benefits package that includes personal medical care, income protection, where we go over and above for our employees to make sure that they're choosing us. And the data shows that people want to work at Amazon, not just because of pay, but their total compensation.
So, I mean, when we look at the premium, for example, that you pay over national minimum wage, we can see that September 2024, the premium over minimum wage was about 15% for low-paid workers, about 22% for higher-paid workers. That's now fallen to a 10% premium for lower-paid workers and a 17% premium for higher-paid workers. And I suppose we're looking at that alongside 2023 Amazon UK Services limited profits of 280.5 million. And I guess the question is, who leads the conversation on workers' behalf about how they get a bigger share of that almost £250 million worth of profit?
I think that growth in national living wage is some of the reason why you'll see that too. I think many of us, from a business perspective, have been trying to keep up with how much that's moved over that same time period that you mentioned. When you ask the question, which I love to answer, about who is advocating this direct relationship that Amazon celebrates with our employees, the answer is the entirety of our leadership team listening through multiple different channels to employee voice and responding. Pay is something that we've heard them say is very important to them, and as Stuart has pointed out, if you ask them why they work at Amazon, that we hear often that's the number one reason, because we pay competitively.
Do you want to add, Mr. Ball?
I'd like to just kind of reinforce the point about that. Our employees join and stay with us, which is an important point, which is not just based on pay, but also upon the industry-leading benefits package, which Jennifer has talked through. But also, I think another area where we focus is around our skill development as well. We have an internal program called Careers Choice, where Amazon contributes to up to 95% of the fees over a 4-year period to upskill our employees. And that's an important point. And it's one that 20,000 people have now had the opportunity to actually upskill. When I talk about upskilling, that could be anything from HGV driving to cyber security. We have almost 10% of our current employees that are enrolled in that scheme. So I think it's important to take a step back and think about not just pay, but also in terms of benefits, and also the focus around how we can help develop a person's skills.
Well, we've just heard this afternoon that there's very few people who work for Amazon for more than 2 years and don't have some kind of injury that they've sustained at work. Is that true?
It's simply not true. It doesn't match my experience. The data also doesn't say that at all. In fact, what we hear is employees are looking for more opportunities to grow inside of Amazon, to learn new skills, to work in different areas inside of our buildings.
Okay, thank you. The challenge we've got, I suppose, is that we've got a company that is rich enough to put a man into space, but we've got very conflicting stories about how safe it is to work at Amazon, and we've got clear evidence that pay has only risen about a third as much of sales. But let's get into some of the issues behind that. Charlie Maynard.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll say, I'm just sorry butting in, but what Mad Monk says, I'll say you're going to be you will know more than we'll ever know, and you probably know more than these two. But good evening, Chatter, and good evening, Joe. Hope you're another one of my fantastic moderators. But you basically say on this, I've got experience of got the floor and workers, and as a manager and as a night shift worker, we got paid more than a public civil servant. Now, what you said there kind of reminded me of my son. He works for a certain eating establishment. We shall not mention their name because they do have a mad lunatic owner, and we'll leave it there. But you remember the time when they were talking about trying to get them to work someplace else so that they can get payout. Now, my son works there, and he basically said, when he heard all that, he said, no, it's nonsense. It's nonsense, is all that. So I well believe what you say, Mad Monk. I totally believe what you say. But yeah, yeah, I know what you mean, Stephen Banker. She does sound like a bit of a robot. She does sound like a bit of a corporate shill to a little bit. And so, but yeah, but as I say, good evening, chat. Right, I hope you're well. But glad you're here, Mad Monk. Yeah, I've seen an Amazon prison workhouse if they can get away with it. But I look on the bleak side of life. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. We are a lot. We're very cynical, aren't we? So I don't understand. But they do seem very, very shady when in some of their responses. But anyway, I'm chuntering.
Listening to your statements and what we heard an hour ago, it's starkly different. It's unrecognisable. So we heard about the battle to get off £10 an hour, and yet we've just heard what you said about pay. And then, I guess what really sticks in the throat a bit is the scale of the company. And, in 2023, Amazon paid 18.7 million of current tax on 27 billion of sales, and 932 million in direct taxes on corporate tax, business rates, and digital services tax, 3.45% of sales, which is, minimal, and it sticks like an incredibly unfair dynamic between on and offline. And given all that, it just doesn't seem at all reasonable, and you coming in here and saying, they love working here, when an hour ago we've just heard the opposite. I mean, it seems like we're kind of Kafka kind of...
Just put it to a question, Mr. Maynard.
Do you think it's fair to be paying that little tax in the UK as a company?
What I can say at a high level is that Amazon pays all taxes that are required to do so.
I get it, but the question was, do you think it's fair? If you just a yes or no is good.
So my position on this, and you have read my bio, I'm a HR director. I'm not able to talk in detail about our financial position, our tax position.
If you're not going to give me an answer, that's fine. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, we're going to move it on. Mr. Weston.
Mr. Morgan, you mentioned, you said quite categorically that transparency is important in Amazon as a culture. Can you confirm when was the 2022 health and safety data published? And secondly, do you actually provide performance targets for health and safety within your facilities for employees to see, so they can see what is their performance this year versus last year in terms of health and safety, but also how does it compare to your other facilities in the UK?
I'm not able to confirm an exact date when the health...
You could come back to us, couldn't you?
I could, using the data that was on our safety blog, which is what I referenced in terms of how we benchmark ourselves against Health and Safety Executive. Yes, we're able to confirm that.
And the second point?
The second point is the performance data that we consider, which takes me back to the earlier conversation, is around performance.
Do you publish it in your facilities for employees' visibility?
If the majority of our employees are highly engaged, and my experience is when I'm on the shop floor, then frequently an employee would ask what is their performance level, and if an employee was to ask what their performance level is, that is something that we would share with them.
I understand, but I'm just coming back to your point that you earnestly made, that you said Amazon is a very transparent organization. I'm not hearing that in your reply.
I don't recall using the word transparent.
He did, didn't he? He definitely said the word transparent. Good evening, Walrus, hope you're well. But he did. We all heard him say the word transparent. And this is the reason why I can tell with Mad Monk, my good friend, he's getting a bit annoyed, and I do apologise. Like I said, this is, as my son, he works for that heated establishment that will not be named. He feels as though he gets well paid, so I totally understand where he come from. Because it's up to the state to currently tax companies, and if the UK does not do it, that it is the fault of the UK government. I totally agree, Joe. Totally agree. And that's the reason why I have that look on when she has that no fucks to give. Is say, you've caught us red-handed, but what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Let's be honest here. She's got that look and say, we know you're gonna do nothing. This is just a bit of shop talk. We all know you're not going to hold us to account. So
we talked about the culture of Amazon being a day one culture where we're focused around innovation and that we're focused around employee experience.
If I can jump in there, I wanted to say versus publishing, what would feel very normal inside of one of our Amazon buildings is to have a conversation with your manager. So what's going well? What do I need to improve? Maybe there's an accommodation, maybe there's a barrier, maybe there's an idea, a change to a workstation that we can make to be able to support you. So the conversation is very much one that would take place between two people versus publishing or reporting.
Okay, Antonia Vance.
Thank you, Chair. We heard earlier from some workers at VHX4 in Coventry. And I'm interested that you mentioned that common management practice of talking to employees and giving feedback, providing accommodation where accommodations were necessary. We heard the story of one of your employees at VHX4 who had had a heart attack was put on duties that were appropriate for what she was able to do, but those accommodations were withdrawn as a result of her union activities. We also heard a number of stories based from that fulfilment centre of workers who had experienced injury at work, being asked to do too much, being asked to load from the back of vehicles on their own, to lift heavy weights above their heads, and of the rate of injury in that workforce. Is it just the case that Coventry BHX4 is a uniquely dangerous Amazon facility to work in, or is that the case for the rest of the country as well?
I'm going to disagree with the premise of the question altogether, and I want to share a little bit of data. As we heard earlier, often employers would have a different version of events, and as you shared, sir, earlier, unrecognizable would be exactly how those claims are. We've asked employees at the Coventry location 5 times this year, would you recommend Amazon as a great place to work to your friends and family? And all 5 times, 87% of the employees said yes.
No respect, but if management asked me that same question and I felt my job was under threat, what else am I going to say? It's just a nothing burger of an answer, innit? Of course I'm going to say if I feel my job's under threat, yeah, of course I will, you know. So, I work for the council. Personally, I won't have any of my kids working at the council. I've seen now the way they treat people. But if your job's under threat, I'd just tell them whatever they want to say.
7% or more. So what we're describing here is a place where people really do come to work to do a good job. They're choosing this location out of anywhere that they could work inside of Coventry.
May I ask if that's an anonymous question?
Go on, briefly.
Is that an anonymous question you ask employees, so it's untraceable to them and they believe that is...
Absolutely. It's anonymous. It's something that they can answer directly on
Fair
the
enough.
device that they're interacting with when they do their work every day.
We come to Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. We've heard a lot today about balance and the need to offset rights and responsibilities on both sides of this equation, employees and employers. Taking into account recent changes in the budget, what's your view of how things are for employers in this country? Is Britain still a good place to do business?
Firstly, the UK is an important country for Amazon. Last year we celebrated 25 years in business here. And across that 25-year time, we've continued to grow and invest. Actually, right now we employ over 75,000 employees. We're one of the largest employers. We've recently been recognised as a top employer from the Top Employee Institution as well. And we've hired over 10,000 additional employees to support our busy period through the Christmas period. So UK is important. We continue to grow and invest in our network in this country.
And then in light of the changes then, is that you've talked about the past then, so you've had 25 years here and that's been 25 good years. What do you think the future is now in the current circumstances? Do you think that's changing? Have you another good 25 years here?
So we have a strong customer base here. We have an established network here. Our investment decisions are complex, as you would appreciate. I'm not here to share or not able to share any details around future investment decisions, but the fact that we've now been in the UK for 25 years and we continue to invest, I think that's an indication.
So if it's just interrupted, demand's obviously there, the customers are there, that's clear. What's your view of the environment in which you do business, the rules that you've got to abide by, things like that? Is it a hostile environment? Is it becoming a hostile environment? Has the pendulum swung away from you towards the employees rather than employers?
With our cloud computing business, Amazon Web Services has announced this year that we'll invest £8 billion over the next 5-year period. And that was something that was recognised by the Chancellor. Amazon has also recently attended the Growth Summit. So again, demonstrating how we are willing and to work constructively with this government and with Parliament around future benefits for this country.
Okay, Johnny Maynard.
Thank you. You mentioned 100 locations. What proportion of those have got union engagement currently?
We don't currently, or nor will we ever track union membership, so I'm not able to answer that question.
Okay. Do any locations have a union? They may have union members in them, but do they have an organised union inside the location?
Recognition? No, we have over the 25 years that we've been doing business here, not had a site vote for union recognition up until this point.
Thank you. Okay. And what's your response to the proposed changes to industrial relations as part of the Employment Rights Bill?
I think it's well, firstly, I'm fully aware that within the bill there are a number of areas that are being discussed, and we think that it's important that we get these decisions right. We do think that it's a matter for government and for Parliament to decide upon. We, of course, would comply with any changes that were made. Listening to the CBI and having the opportunity to read their report, their recommendation around additional independent review and further consultation within those, we think that we can certainly see the benefits of that, because we think that it would be right that we get these decisions correct.
Are there any parts of the proposed legislation that you're particularly concerned about?
The CBI indicated the reduction in the strike notification period from 14 to 7 days. Whilst we respect the right of our employees to strike and understand that that can be disruptive, then that reduction from the 14 to the 7 day does create additional challenges. During the ballot at Coventry and strike action, we continue to maintain our operation because the majority of our employees wanted to continue to attend work, and we also wanted to be able to continue to provide and support our customers. So a reduced notification period then leads to additional challenges and potentially could then impact and increase safety risk. So, but I think the CBA has kind of articulated that.
Anything else that's particularly concerning?
There's a lot of places we're still wanting more information, and we're listening really carefully, learning as we progress to see where things land. Obviously, we'll comply and we'll work really productively wherever it lands.
Thank you.
Joshua Reynolds.
On that point, you mentioned strikes. If Amazon's such a great place to work, as you've said, that's what you hear time and time again from your team. Why have your team in Coventry gone on strike so much?
I think it's important to note that we absolutely support their right to do that.
That hasn't answered the. Excuse me. I've obviously we've sat here for quite a while now. I feel like I might need to get lessons from you both at some point in how to not answer the question that was asked directly. If you're that good an employer that you've explained to us so far, why have your workers in Coventry gone on strike so much?
I think they're executing their rights as we absolutely would protect their ability to do. I've shared some data around that building about how employees are telling us it's a great place to work. What I would love to do is invite you, sir, to come and see the building yourself.
I really apologise for interrupting you. My question was why. You haven't answered why. You've told me that, again, it's a great place to work and you've got all this data and I'd love to come and see what you do. Yes, but why? That's the one thing you haven't answered yet, which is the question I actually asked you. Why?
I think that's a good moment for me to, again, extend the invitation.
But it's a good moment for you to not... No, sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm going to really push this point.
Okay.
It's a great opportunity for you to not answer my question. If you are such a great place to work, and I'd like to congratulate you, said you won an award recently on being a great place to work. If you are that great a place to work, why have your workers in Coventry gone on strike so much?
Our employees have the right to join a trade union or not to join a trade union, and we totally respect that.
I'm pulling teeth at this point. Neither of you answered that question so far. I'll ask it once more.
Yeah.
I'll ask it once more and then I'll give up because I don't think I'm going to get an answer. Why have they gone on strike so much? What is the reason behind it? You talk to workers every day, you've told us, and that's what your teams do. So when you ask them, why are you going on strike, what's their answer back to you? Why are they striking?
They were demonstrating their right to support the trade union that they were a member of. Simply put.
Sorry. Supporting a trade union isn't a legal reason for people to go on strike. What was the legal reason that they went on strike, as set out in the paperwork that needs to be supplied to the employer in the relevant notice period?
You mean the ballot for strike action?
Yes, that's right. What was the legal reason?
There are multiple scenarios over the recognition attempts that the GMB has made.
We're not talking about recognition. We're talking about the 37 days of industrial action at BHX4 in Coventry. Paperwork needs to be supplied to the employer that lists the reason for strike action. What was the reason given for strike action on those 37 days, in answer to my colleague's question?
Mr. Morgan.
Please repeat the question.
In order to take industrial action, a union needs to win a ballot. In order to have a legal ballot, they need to supply to the employer some paperwork that lists the reason, and it needs to be a legal reason. Supporting their union is not a legal reason. It needs to be a legal reason as to why they wish to take strike action for that ballot to go ahead and be lawful and not be challenged in the courts. What was the legal reason on the paperwork supplied to you why your workers at Coventry BHX4 went on strike?
That's one I would be willing to write back on. I don't have the information top of mind, or I can't recall it. We have been, over the series of 2 years, working with the GMB through this process. So we have responded back and forth for several claims, several allegations, I would say, that simply we don't recognize. So please let me come back on that one.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, you don't know why the people went on strike?
I think, just to reinforce Jennifer's point, that we'll write back on that. I don't have that detailed point.
Okay, you're required to be open with us as a committee. You're sure you don't want to lay out why the people went on strike now?
I guess I fully understand our responsibilities as in front of the committee.
Okay, Rosie Writing.
They just look incredibly shifty, don't they? That's, as I say, all I'm going to say is thank God we've got Mad Monkey, because it was absolutely, it just sounded like filibustering and drivel. Yeah, you're not going to believe this, but I just got an Amazon delivery. I asked the delivery driver, do you have a pee-in bottle? And the answer was no, as they can go to the supermarket. Oh, well, to be honest, I went out when I worked for Bradford Council, Mad Monk. I did that a few times. So yeah, I'm wondering if they mean that in the warehouse. I don't know. I don't know whether they mean that in the warehouse in Coventry. Brilliant, Mad Monk, top class. But this is the thing, you know, they just look and act incredibly. Good evening, Bot Stanson. Yeah, these committee need training to deal with these. Yeah, absolutely. See, it's an absolute crying shame they didn't get him to do it under oath. So I remember they did it with Spafford, didn't they? And I remember they did it with the post office. They had them under oath. Good evening, Andy J. Hope you well. Our local Amazon driver often pee in bottles and chuck them on the ground next to our bin. I caught one peeing against the building a few weeks ago. Disgusting. But yeah, they just look and act incredibly shifty, don't they? And this is the reason why I remember watching it, and I had to do it in 2 installments, so I was getting incredibly annoyed, because I'm thinking, you get paid to do this. And some of them, they're just not hard questions, are they? They just seem to be easy, and they just seem to go off on these tangents. Government centre. Yeah, you could have good evening, Spank the Monkey. Yeah, I think you might have a point there. Sounds like the Coventry Fulfilment Centre have shifty managers. You could very much be right there. You could, yeah. So Well, as I say, Man Monk, thanks for all your info. It's been really enlightening what you've been saying, and I've learned a lot. So cheers for that. Thanks for being me eyes and ears. Gently holding my hand through this select committee meeting. You've been an absolute diamond. And yeah, the so-called P breaks are a piss take. 6 mins, no matter where you located in the warehouse. Is that actually true? They call these bottles driver's aid. Wow. Absolutely unbelievable. See, the thing is, why are we more entitled to believe the union representatives we had in yesterday's live stream? Because they seem to come with receipts. These just seem to come with tried and tested, set answers, and they just sound incredibly shifty. And it's the young lass who's asking the questions. She's no time for these two. She clearly has no time for these two, because you get the feeling she can see straight through these two. They just seem to be like just corporate shills a little bit. And I'm watching her, and you just get the feeling she's going to have a absolutely rupture a spleen any minute now.
Thank you. So what level of access does Amazon currently permit to union representatives at its warehouses and fulfillment centres?
Okay, so actually we have a level of interaction, not just with the GMB but other unions as well. Any union members have the right to be represented at different meetings, and if that's the case, then we have unions on our sites on a basis when those meetings take place. Our position is aligned with other businesses within the private sector. We comply with the current regulations within this area.
And can I just confirm what level of access the unions have to your sites?
So in terms of access, could you clarify the question?
So access into your fulfillment centres and warehouses, at what levels are the unions able to come in at this time?
Currently, the access would be that they would have access in order to enable the meeting to take place with the union member and a member of the leadership team for that building.
The other part of the law states that we obviously would grant access as part of an access agreement as you move through the ballot period.
You've currently got no live access agreement because there's no live ballot period. So the answer to the question at the moment is no access, yes?
At this point, there is no access, but our position is no different from other businesses, and we're compliant with the current regulations. Now, if that access was to change, and I know that it is a point of consideration on this bill, then we would comply with that.
And sorry, you just mentioned that the unions come in for meetings. Yes. Do you feel that you create a positive environment when the unions are coming in to the warehouses and fulfillment centres? Are they welcomed in your buildings?
I think that trade unions have an important role to play. And all of our employees have the right to choose as to whether they're a member or not. In Amazon, our preferred way of doing business is through direct engagement with our employees, and we think that creates a more positive and engaging environment.
As I say, thanks for your input. Clearly for me, judging by what I'm hearing from Mad Monk, this is more of an English thing. This has to be something that's happening in England. It clearly must be, because your experience is totally different to what's happening in the depot in Coventry. It clearly must be. Because when I work for, I know it's different. I worked for the council for 30 years, and every time there was a union representative that had an office in the building. So I know it's different, but see for me, I don't really understand what their real problem with the union representatives are. It's like I heard people say a happy worker is a loyal worker, and if you want loyal workers, you've got to keep them happy. But yeah, like as I say, thanks for being here tonight. I can imagine it's not easy listening, but thanks for holding us hand through this, because your experience has absolutely been fantastic. Cheers for that, my friend.
Tony Vance.
Thank you very much, Chair. The GMB described to us a campaign of intimidation and interference at Amazon in response to attempts by its members to achieve union recognition at BHX4 in Coventry. What measures did you apply to put management's view to workers?
We were focused on executing a free and fair ballot process at this site. A couple things to note: over 25 years of operation here in the UK, this is the first time that Amazon has ever actually been brought to a ballot period. So there was a ton for us to learn. Successfully so, I can tell you that we had 87% of the population inside a very large building with 3,000 people exercise their right to vote in the ballot period, which we feel very proud about. Not only that, we made sure that we were providing information and support. We had tons of questions that were coming our way from employees, and some misinformation that we absolutely felt a responsibility to clarify.
How much did you spend on materials, consultants and other payments in response to the July 2024 ballot for statutory recognition? Your colleagues in the US, where they operate in a different industrial relations environment, as you will be aware, spent $14.2 million in 2022 attempting, unsuccessfully, to defeat union recognition attempts in the United States. How much did you spend in the UK?
There was a cost to this as a business, as you would expect. An example of that would be that we gave pay time off to all of our employees to enable them to vote and also to attend information sessions. Our priority throughout this entire process was ensuring that our employees had the information that was available to them to make that decision, and Jennifer talked about the turnout for that. It was also the first time that we'd been through this process in our 25-year history, and thereby we ensured that we wanted to get the right level of support, guidance, to enable us to ensure that we followed that process. That entire process was overseen by an independent assessor appointed by the CAC. And we followed that process in a fair and free way.
Of course, you could have saved yourself all the money you did spend by just doing voluntary recognition of the union, which would have been the approach that most employers would have taken. Now, I would say, I understand that your lawyers are Eversheds, is that right? And that one of the ways in which you spent money in the course of the recognition battle that you fought to prevent GMB getting recognition in that workforce was by asking Eversheds to do your job as managers, by undertaking all of the communication with the union on your behalf. Don't you think you could have saved that money and engaged with the representatives of your workforce directly?
As I think this body knows, this is a very complicated process, and it is very important that diligence is demonstrated through the entirety of the process in order not only to get it right from a legality standpoint, but also to deliver the right experience for our employees. So I think the answer to that question is we used a lot of care to make sure that the process was executed completely free and fair.
Sarah Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. In 2023, Amazon made about $575 billion in global sales, and that equates to being the 25th largest economy, equivalent to Ireland or Argentina. So a lot of power there, perhaps a lot of imbalance, we might say. You mentioned earlier about wanting to operate a free and fair ballot. So I just wanted to ask a few questions about perhaps the access, the equal access to different ways of communicating with people. So I'm going to start firstly by asking, how many meetings did you hold with workers at BHX4 to express the management's view? in the ballot in the run-up to July of 2024?
We meet with our employees regularly. Our managers inside of our sites have, as we share, this direct relationship. So we have a process called Team Connects where we meet with our employees. We have start of shift briefs where we talk about the plan for the day. It is a very normal part of doing business at Amazon inside of our warehouses to speak directly to employees. So it would be
this is about expressing the views of the ballot, specifically the question,
You
not
should-
about what you generally talk about day to day in dealing with, obviously, running the business. So
Yeah.
specifically the management's views, how you express those and how many times you met employees in meetings to express those views.
Simply put, any time an employee would ask us a question, we would answer. So that
But
would
you didn't
be,
organise any meetings with them directly and invite them to them?
we had multiple touch points with employees to answer the questions, not only about the actual process itself, but what a trade union could and could not deliver for them. Moments that were, again, there was an opportunity to clarify misconceptions or misinformation.
Did you agree a set number and then give the union the same set number to make that free and fair?
The access agreement was agreed by the GMB.
You have to agree to it as well.
Absolutely. It was, yeah.
So did you play by those rules or not?
It would be a really tough one for that question. I think the premise of it is what I'm arguing with. We talk to our employees constantly. So comparing
it's a simple
day-to-day
question about how many times you
relationship-
organised meetings, which would be diarised. So you would have a list of how many times you had done that with employees. Because that's what the union would have to do in response.
Yeah, once again, every time an employee were to ask us about, what this meant for them, we answered them as transparently
You had unlimited
as possible.
access to express management's views on the ballot, is what you're saying.
What we're saying is that our entire approach to our industrial relations is based around direct engagement with our employees, and that we do that constantly through many different formats on a day-to-day basis. I think kind of what we recognise, and the point here is that actually we agreed the access with the GMB that was negotiated, and we followed that to the word, and that entire process was overseen by an independent assessor, and at no point was a formal complaint raised during that period or within the qualifying period.
So what about the internal apps, the TV screens, the notice boards that you could make use of? Did you allow the GMB to make use of those as well to make sure that it was a free and fair ballot?
As part of the access agreement, the GMB did have TV screens. They had a table available to them where they could provide not just the information on a poster, but on a pamphlet. We had 84 sessions of 45 minutes each inside of our building for them to speak directly to our employees, as well as during the access period. Any employee at any point could speak directly with the GMB in a surgery-style small group conversation as well.
They were allowed unfettered access. They could speak to them at any point, anytime they wanted.
The unfettered, I would say, it's agreed as a part of the access agreement exactly how the process works.
Why don't you just say they could say whenever they needed them. It's just the long-winded answers. The more you listen to this, and the more you think what they're hiding. They seem to say, and like I'll say, I've been watching Mad Monk's answers, replies, and absolutely brilliant. And it seems quite clearly the more when I worked for, I had a position as a project manager where I had a set area to work within, and we had certain projects, and I would set up certain days excursions where we went on a fire prevention scheme where we went to, I can't remember where, I think it was in Cleckheaton, at the fire depot, where we learnt about, fire prevention. It says what it is on the tin. And we did small plants. I've forgotten the name of the small plant. Oh, names escape me. But we did a number of projects, and as I'm listening, I can imagine I would have been just like you as a manager, because, like you say, as a manager, we would take a member of staff out they were struggling and try and find a fix for it, and if it's not flexible, then we would just let them go, but with a good notice. So yeah, I had to let somebody go myself because to be honest, he won't pulling his weight. But I give him a good notice, even though, if I'm perfectly honest, he didn't deserve it. It were a waste of space. But you just do what you do, but as you say, I experienced totally different. Amazon, 3 strikes and you were out. Step outside of the allocated walkway markers on the fulfillment centre floor. 1 point, late logging in 1 point. So it does seem to be maybe more English and seem to be the same thing that's happening in Wales. And good evening, wake up and smell the rosemaries. Hope you're well. And I'll say the reason why I jump in now and again, because I just want to save your blood pressure. Good evening, James. Yeah, you're absolutely right, James McPhee. Yeah, they are being deliberately contemptuous. They are really, because like some of these are just simple yes or no answers, and they seem to go on these mad tangents a little bit, don't they? They enjoy pissing on your leg and calling it rain. I think that's quite a good analogy, really. Especially because she still wears that grin. She knows exactly what she's just talking utter rollicks, and she's just doing the talking points, and she's got that smile on her face. As I've said earlier, no fucks to give, has she?
Okay, that's very different to the story that we heard earlier and the types of messages that were put on those screens and the access that they had to tools and availability. So I'm interested that you think that they had that when they categorically clearly did not.
I think this is an opportunity to clarify the actual situation. As we've explained, we followed a process which was negotiated in terms of access. The entire process was overseen by an independent assessor, and at no point was any formal complaints made about access within the qualifying period.
And finally, did you bring any additional workers in to work for Amazon during that period of time? So you changed the number of people that worked for the company during the time that you received the notification for recognition?
So Amazon is a retail business. It's seasonal, and demand changes throughout the entire year. Thereby, our overall headcount, the number of employees within a building, not just Coventry, but at any across the network, changes from time to time.
The timing was just completely happenstance, that the number of employees raised significantly during that time period?
There were a number of additional factors which impacted upon the headcount within Coventry.
Can I just jump in there? I would argue with any raising of the headcount we were very transparent with the bargaining unit. We have to communicate that obviously to the CAC, and from the point where the actual recognition request was filed in March to the point of the ballot in July, the bargaining unit had actually decreased in size.
But in the prior year, when the GMB sought statutory recognition in May-June 2023, the bargaining unit, which stood at 1,400 at the point that they sought statutory recognition, increased to 2,749 in just 27 days. Now, is May-June a peak period of the year for you and your business, such that it would need an increase of 93% in the bargaining unit during that period? Or was that a transparent attempt to manipulate the rules to ensure that statutory recognition couldn't be achieved?
Throughout the year, there are a number of what we would describe as high-volume sales events, such as Black Friday.
November.
We also have early spring deals. We have summer
early
deals.
Spring deals. Is that in June?
We have 4 across the year, but the point here is that the Coventry building is a unique building. It plays an important role in terms of our operation. If you were to visit that building, you would note that we don't store goods or inventory in that building. Actually, we bring goods in, and then the purpose of the building is then to spread the goods across our network. As a result of that, in terms of the operational cycle, or when we have high volumes going into that building, that is different to when actually you would expect a sale to be taking place.
I welcomed the opportunity to respond to the number of 1,400. So that is a GMB reported number and is simply not the actual headcount at that time period.
How much was the headcount and what was the increase that you shipped in to ensure that the opportunity for statutory recognition was frustrated in May 2023?
The premise of the question is one I have to disagree with. So I think Stuart did a wonderful job explaining exactly why and how we staff based on volumes, how important the Coventry location is for us. I simply wanted to make the point that we provided the headcount in the bargaining unit transparently to the CAC through the duration, the entirety of the process, and never was that 1,400 number an Amazon reported headcount number.
Those could be numbers you could supply to us.
I'll take the request away happily.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, likewise, Mad Monk. This has been educational listening to you, watching your replies in the chat. I've learnt a lot coming from you, and this is one of the things I enjoyed this live stream because, especially when I heard that you worked in the place, your inside knowledge has been absolutely fantastic. Not only you've helped to keep the chat, in a good, how could I put it? In a good state, you could say. But you also gently held my hand in this. Let's just say it's been a clusterfuck of a live stream because they've done their absolute level best to not answer as many questions as they can. So I just want to say thank you for not only being like Alistair and Joe, a fantastic moderator, but being given us inside knowledge, and I've learned a lot. And it's same with Walrus as well. You had your experience there, and I think it clearly is. I think it's clearly different up in Scotland. And I've noticed. I don't even notice the woman behind her wearing the black and wearing the black on her right hand side. I mean, you might have noticed she's been rolling her eyes a few times. She has been rolling her eyes because she, as I say, she was one of the first witnesses. And when they talked saying that have you been anti-union? Let's be honest here. She walked in here with receipts with when they had on the notice board all these anti-union quotes like they will only speak for you if you pay them and stuff like that. Thing is, why would you make it up? If you're going into a committee meeting, why would you stay up and make that? That don't make sense. And if these two had half their heads together, they would have the answers. And clearly, they've spent a good proportion of their time dodging answers, aren't they? And I think it basically, these two are slippery and as dodgy as fuck, aren't they?
Good point.
Yeah. One of the things you'd said earlier was that you think Amazon's the best place to work, but we've heard earlier some cases where that simply isn't the case. I would be keen for you to take those away, and would you commit today to doing that? The specific examples that were raised in the earlier session, and speaking to the GMB, and if those individuals are happy to share their details with you. Firstly, that they will be completely safe in doing so, that they will not face any retribution and coming forward with those specific cases. For example, the person who had had a heart attack and their accommodations had been taken away and changed. And I would like you to come back to me with all the details of those individual cases and what you're doing to put those right.
We would be
that is the
happy
only
to.
way that you can come into this committee today and say that this is a good place to work. Because in that macro, you may come back with statistics, but there are specific people coming today and putting their case to you, and I want to hear from you the specific responses that you have to them.
We would be happy to. We care deeply about every single one of our employees, and so the specifics would allow us to do our due diligence and come back.
Thanks. I just want to come back to the question that Mr. Cooper posed at the top of this session. So you co-signed a letter to the Chancellor on the 18th of November on the economic consequences of the budget on UK retail. That was a letter that was coordinated by the British Retail Consortium. Were there any other points in that letter that you felt very strongly in agreement with that you wanted just to give to the committee?
Amazon, like any other business, benefits from a healthy economy, stability and confidence. And I think out of that letter, which we were a co-signatory of, highlights some of the concerns that we had around the changes with the national insurance contributions and the impact that would have on cost. But at this, I don't have any additional input other than what's outlined in that letter.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there are a number of matters on which Amazon representatives have agreed to write back to the committee. Would you care to summarise them?
I will summarise them in a letter that will be sent after this committee meeting. Once we have the Hansard in front of us. Jennifer Stewart, that concludes our session. We're so grateful for you coming to giving evidence for us as we try and light up the key issues at stake in this bill.
Yeah.
I think most of us will be quite surprised that this is a £27 billion company in the UK. You've got a subsidiary that is making £250 million profit in and of itself. There are, on the record, quite high calls out to ambulances, to support staff. There are sales that are growing 3 times faster than frontline wages. There's a remarkable lack of agreement between the evidence you've given us and the evidence that we've heard from others. And there is, frankly, a bewildering lack of grasp on the reasons for what was a really extensive strike to hit one of your facilities. So we will write to you with some follow-up questions, but this now concludes this panel and this session. Order.
I won't hold your breath in getting what's the word? I won't hold your breath in getting rational replies back. Not after that, but I say good evening, Eric Davison. Hope you're well. Going to pick it the tenuous states. Good evening, global citizen. That's what they will do once we're out of ECHR. Oh dear. Totally. If only we in England actually listened to our neighbours up north, our countries might actually work for us. Yeah, but you've got to remember, they are woke socialists up there, and we cannot have any of that socialism, that redistribution of wealth up down here. That is being wokey lefty. But you could look up hazard to see the list of what they have to reply to. Hansard, yeah. Sorry, I'll say my eyes are a bit blurry. This was a greenwash. This committee was biased as an ex-employee of Amazon. Yeah, you could possibly be onto something there. I think you very much. But I also think that their lack of giving straight answers, sort of like, whoa, you think. That's my thought. The more I watch these, there seemed lack of. But all I say is, thanks for holding my hand through this. You've been incredibly helpful, man, Monk. Because I would say I had to watch it. First time I watched it in about 20 minutes. Take a break because I could feel my hair on the back of my neck start to get rather annoyed because it's just the lack of. It's like you're not going to have all the answers to every question, but like when first question, do you have a problem with unions? And she couldn't even answer that. All right, Roger, hope you well. Low wage, maximum profit. Yeah, there does seem to be a little bit like that down here, doesn't it? But yeah. It's just their lack of answers, and they just sounded incredibly slippery, incredibly shady. The up north are the enemy. Having a government that tries to look after its people is not appreciated by. Yeah. I won't argue with that because, like, as somebody who lives down here, to be fair, whenever I go on, I might have a little look on webs on whatever website, be it Google or whatever, and they look at the news, and it's awash with headlines about either the Conservatives or what they call it, reform. You know, I mean, they are holding this government to account and whatnot, and they are the people who speak for the people. And it's rather interesting. It's just been rather awash of all that sort of stuff. And have you noticed? I bet this select committee meeting, I found this bit really, really interesting. It's just their lack of answers. And it's like when it came to, you know, do you have a problem with the unions? You just say no, don't you? You just say no, of course we don't. They just go with these long-winded, preset answers, and they just looked incredibly shady, didn't they? And that's the reason why I could have actually, you know, done it yesterday, but I think, yeah, absolutely, yeah, I agree with it. Well, it's a bit of a mic drop moment, yeah. To see these committee hearings introduce truth, drug and lie detector. Yeah, Jeannie Paul. But yeah, I still remember watching that liaison. Now, apparently, did Keir Starmer do a liaison committee meeting earlier today? Now, I haven't had a chance to watch it because I was out with my wife and kids for a bit of a meal and a bit of a Christmas meal and a bit of a Christmas drink for the afternoon, so I will miss it. But I'll say over the weekend I will probably watch some of it, see if there's any interesting juicy bits. Yeah, I did. Right then, I'll say my wife mentioned that he was in a select committee with that. Very, very interesting. Yeah, I have to say he is. I agree with you there. Ciao, yeah, from Arges. But yeah, we're so. Yeah, you totally agree with you there, Boris. Yeah, too many foreign parties sitting in Holyrood, and that must be sorted. It must be written in Scots law that your party must be registered in Scotland. Yes. Yeah. Us Celts will win the day. I always wonder why the good folk of England never ask why their government does not provide similar benefits to England, because that'll be wokey lefty stuff. As you can't remember, I've watched the odd couple of GBBs. You've got the clown at the Reform chairman. He thinks that Keir Starmer is a socialist, a Trotskyite, Leninist, communist. Yeah. So if there's any communists and socialists in the chat, don't have a go at me. That's what the Reform chairman, he thinks you're in the same box as Keir Starmer. So this is what you're up against. Yes, he actually believes he's a wokey communist, Leninist, socialist. Yeah, mental. But anyway, I'll just say, I think we'll draw to a close in a minute, because I think I just want to have a little chat, and let's all just. Those reps really made this show the us versus them corporates have our employees. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you there, Walrus. Yeah, Musk thinks the same thing. Yeah, I totally agree. Wake up and smell the rosemaries. Scotland bad and scrounging without Scotland, then England bankrupt. Totally agree, my friend. And all, yeah. No worries. I'll be leaving. You can't see for looking. Yeah, absolutely, Mirrors. But hope you're well, my friend. As I say, but anyway, yeah, exactly. See you soon, my friend. Yeah, no worries, my friend. And cheers for my fantastic moderators, Mad Monk, Alistair, and Jow. Won't be able to do this without you guys. You're an absolute blessing and absolute stars. And also, thanks again, Mad Monk, for holding us on through this, because learnt a lot from you as well. And it clearly must be totally different up in Scotland. Like you say, you've got the social contract, so very, very interesting. But as I say, what I will say is, hopefully, we will have a Friday frolic tomorrow, normal time. But what I'll do is I'll set it up for 5 o'clock as normal. And if I get the feeling I'm going to be a little bit late, I will leave a message in the chat, just to say, give me 5 minutes or whatever. Yeah, and this is a topic I can comment. You absolutely can, Mad Monk. Totally agree. And thanks for all your thanks for your info as well, Walrus. And yeah, I'm gonna with your nose. Oh yeah, I have a terrible conk, so I do apologise. But anyway, stay safe. Hopefully see you all tomorrow with a Friday frolic, and we'll have a bit of a Christmas giggle as well tomorrow. So I just want to say thanks for stopping by and tuning in. Really appreciate your support. So take care, my friends, and hopefully see you tomorrow. If I don't see you tomorrow, and hopefully you all have a very, very Merry Christmas and have a very prosperous New Year. So what I will do is I will wave you out. Thanks for stopping by, and